The Empire stretched across 1,000 stars. Its fleets patrolled every known path. Its records contained every ship ever built, every engine ever tested, and every signal ever sent. The Empire's leaders believed they knew everything. Nothing could surprise them. Nothing could enter their skies without being seen. That belief shattered one quiet night. On the edge of the Targus system, an observatory station picked up a signal. At first, the officer on duty thought it was just interference. The stars often played tricks, and machines sometimes echoed. But then the signal grew stronger. A shape appeared on the scanners, large, cold, and silent. The officer frowned. Checked the ship records, but nothing matched. Every vessel was cataloged in the Imperial archives. But this one was not. It had no ID code, no registry, no history. The officer called his commander. The commander called the capital. Soon the highest council of the Empire received the report. Ship beyond all records had entered their borders. Panic followed. The council chamber filled with voices. Some shouted that it was a mistake. Others whispered that it was a threat. A few trembled and muttered ancient stories, the kind the Empire banned long ago. Stories of humans. The Empire had erased them from memory. The humans had vanished centuries ago, defeated, scattered, forgotten. The council had ordered their history destroyed because it brought only fear. But the old whispers remained, hidden, in the dark corners of space. Now, a nameless ship floated in their skies, silent and waiting. And the whispers returned. The council ordered fleets to intercept. 3 destroyers rushed to the edge of the Targus system. They moved in formation, proud and strong. Their commanders laughed at the fear in the council chamber. One unknown ship could not match the power of the Empire. As they approached, the strange vessel remained still. It did not send signals, did not show weapons. It only waited. The destroyers scanned it. The surface was smooth, dark, and strange. No windows, no signs of engines. It looked almost dead, as if it had drifted for centuries. But their instruments told another story. Inside the ship, something pulsed, something alive. The destroyer captains grew uneasy. They demanded orders. The fleet admiral ordered them to board it, so the first boarding team was sent. They crossed the silent void, entered the strange hull, and stepped inside. What they found was not metal corridors or machine halls. It was stone. Stone walls carved, like ancient ruins, yet floating in the darkness of space. Symbols glowed faintly on the walls, symbols none of the aliens recognized. They were sharp, bold, and carried a weight of meaning lost to time. The soldiers moved carefully, their weapons ready. The silence pressed on them like a hand around the throat. One soldier touched the wall. Glowing symbols flared brighter. A hum filled the air. The boarding team froze. A voice spoke. It was not in their language, yet every soldier understood it. A single word echoed inside their minds. Return. The team screamed for extraction. Their captains shouted orders, but the ship around them began to shift. The stone corridors moved like a living maze. Paths closed. New ones opened. The soldiers were separated, swallowed one by one, their screams cut off, leaving only static in the admiral's ear. Then silence again. The admiral ordered weapons fired. The destroyers unleashed beams of energy and volleys of missiles. The blasts struck the unknown ship, but vanished, as if the hull swallowed them whole. Not a single mark remained. The strange ship began to move. Slowly, purposefully it turned. And for the first time its front faced the Imperial fleet. Then it sent a signal. The signal was simple, a repeating code. The admiral watched as machines translated it. The words appeared on his screen, 2 words only. We return. The admiral's blood ran cold. Across the fleet, silence fell, because those words were in a language long thought, dead human language. The Empire had buried it. They had sworn humans were gone forever. But now, the human ship had come back, and it was not alone. The Empire had faced rebellions, pirates, even rival empires. But this was different. The ship at the edge of Targus was not the enemy they could understand, was something outside their rules, outside their knowledge. The admiral tried to keep control. His fleet circled the ship, keeping distance, sent more probes, hoping to pierce the strange hull. But every probe vanished the moment it touched the ship's surface, as if it was swallowed by water. The admiral sent reports back to the capital. The council read them in silence. For a long moment, no one dared to speak. Then one elder whispered a name no one had spoken in centuries: humans. The word made the chamber colder. Some counselors scoffed. Impossible, they said. Humans were destroyed. They burned themselves out. Others trembled. What if they did not? The council's leader struck the table. Silence. The Empire fears nothing. If this ship belongs to humans, then we will crush it, just as our ancestors did. But even as he spoke, doubt spread like fire through the room. The Empire had never admitted fear before, and yet everyone could see it in each other's eyes. Back in Targus, the admiral's fleet waited. The strange ship did not attack. It did not flee. It simply drifted closer, step by step, as if testing their courage. Every time it moved, alarms rang through the Imperial ships. Its presence weighed heavy, like a storm gathering. Then came another signal. This time, the words were longer. The fleet's machines translated quickly. You thought we were gone. You thought we were broken. You were wrong. The crew stared at the message. None of them wanted to read it twice. Suddenly, one of the destroyers lost power. Lights died. Engines shut down. The crew screamed as their systems failed one by one. The admiral demanded a report, but no reply came. He watched helplessly as the destroyer drifted toward the strange ship, pulled like a leaf into a river. The dark vessel swallowed it whole. No explosion, no wreckage, just silence. The admiral's hands shook. He had lost a warship without a fight. Ordered retreat. The fleet turned, engines roaring, desperate to escape, but then every star vanished. The sky went black. Their scanners showed nothing. The strange ship had covered them in a field, a sphere of darkness that cut them off from the galaxy itself. The crews panicked. Some prayed, others screamed. The admiral gritted his teeth, forcing calm. Hold the line, he said. We are the Empire. Do not run. But inside he felt the same dread as his men, because deep in the dark, the ship spoke again. With words this time, but with images directly into their minds. The soldiers saw burning cities. They saw planets turn to ash. They saw humans walking through fire, surviving where no life should survive. They saw fleets shattered, empires falling, in one phrase echoing again and again. We are the storm. The crews clutched their heads, crying out. Some fell to the floor. The admiral himself struggled to breathe as the visions tore through his mind. Then, just as suddenly, the images stopped. The darkness lifted. The stars returned, but the strange ship was gone. Only silence remained. The admiral's fleet limped back to Imperial space. When they reached the capital, their reports spread like wildfire. The council tried to control the story, to bury it. But whispers spread faster than commands. Everyone in the Empire began asking the same question. Had the humans truly returned? And if they had, what did they want? The capital world of the Empire did not sleep that night. Rumors spread through every level of society. Soldiers whispered in the barracks. Merchants traded stories in the markets. Even children repeated the forbidden word humans. The council tried to control the fear. It declared the reports exaggerated, the visions false, the ship a trick of faulty sensors. No one believed them. The soldiers who had seen the darkness, who had felt the voice in their minds, could not hide their terror. The admiral who returned from Targus stood before the council. His face was pale, his voice cracked, but his words were steady. It was no illusion. The humans are back. The council erupted. Some shouted to prepare fleets. Others demanded silence. But none of them had answers. At the same time, on the edge of the Empire, strange events began to happen. Ships disappeared along border routes. Mining colonies went dark without warning. Entire listening posts reported seeing shadows in the stars before their signals ended. Every survivor spoke of the same thing, a silent ship. It's black and ancient, drifting closer before everything was lost. The Empire grew restless. The Council ordered its largest fleet to patrol the border, 30 warships strong. They were led by Lord Admiral Syrax, a commander known for his cold logic and iron discipline. He laughed at the reports of fear. Stories, he said. The humans were weak. They destroyed themselves. This is some pirate trick, nothing more. His fleet entered the border systems. For days, nothing happened. His soldiers began to relax, to believe their admiral was right. But then, on the 6th night, the stars dimmed. The same darkness fell over Syrax's fleet, just as it had over the Targus force. Panic spread through the ships. They tried to break formation, but their engines would not respond. Then, out of the black, a shape emerged. The silent ship. The same one, or maybe another. Its surface shifted like a shadow, impossible to measure. The admiral gave the order to fire. 30 warships unleashed their weapons. Missiles, beams, and plasma storms filled the void. The explosions lit up the darkness. But when the light faded, the ship remained untouched. Then it answered, not with weapons, but with words. A signal burst across every ship, not just on screens, but inside their heads. A voice calm and heavy. As stones spoke in human tongue, you built an empire on our graves. You thought us gone? Now we rise. The soldiers trembled. Some dropped their weapons, unable to move. Others shouted to retreat. But before anyone could escape, the strange ship released a single wave of energy. It was not fire. It was not heat. It was silence. One by one, the warship's lights went out. Engines stopped. Shields collapsed. 30 proud vessels, the strength of the Empire's border, hung dead in space. Only the flagship remained active. Admiral Syrax stood frozen, staring at the ship on his screen. For the first time in his life, his iron voice broke. "What are you?" he whispered. The reply came like thunder in his skull. "We are the return." And his flagship too went dark. The Empire lost 30 warships in a single night, without a single trace of wreckage left behind. When the news reached the capital, people no longer whispered, they shouted. Fear became real. Some even began to pray to the old stories, begging the humans for mercy. The council tried to hold control, but their voices shook. The humans were not a myth anymore. They were here, and the Empire was powerless to stop them. The Empire had never suffered such shame. 30 warships gone in a single night, erased without a single blast or wreck left behind. The galaxy watched in silence. Neighbors, rivals, and allies all listened to the whispers. The humans have returned. Inside the Empire's capital, fear spread like wildfire. The council met day after day, but no decision brought peace. Some demanded to strike harder, to gather the full Imperial fleet and crush this ghost threat. Others argued for retreat, for sealing the borders and waiting, but the people no longer trusted their leaders. Markets grew quiet. Soldiers deserted. In the streets, groups gathered, repeating the words that haunted everyone. We are the storm. We return. Meanwhile, strange signals spread across the Empire. Not just from the Targus system. It's not just from the border. Everywhere. Outposts, relay stations, even planets deep inside Imperial space picked up the same coded message. It was always the same two words. We return. At first, the council believed there was only one ship, but now dozens appeared. Silent shapes on the edges of systems, always drifting, never answering, yet always watching. They seemed to move without engines, without sound, appearing where they should not exist. The Empire scrambled to keep control. They sent fleets, patrols, scouts, none returned. Then, something even stranger happened. On a small farming moon called Telrose, the silent ship appeared in the skies. The people panicked, expecting destruction. But the ship did not attack, simply hovered. Days passed, and the moon remained untouched. Then, without warning, words appeared across every screen. Every come, even written in fire across the sky itself. Do not fear. We do not come for you. We come for them. The people of Telrose looked at each other in confusion. Who was them? The Empire? The Council? The Empire sent soldiers to silence the colony, but before they arrived, the strange ship vanished. Word spread fast. Across the stars, colonies began to whisper that maybe the humans were not enemies. Maybe they were something else, something greater. This thought terrified the Council even more. If the people began to see humans as protectors instead of threats, the Empire would collapse from inside. The Council leader stood before the gathered rulers. His voice shook, but his eyes burned with desperation. We cannot let this continue. If the humans rise again, the Empire dies. We must strike now with all our power. The First Fleet will march. The First Fleet was the pride of the Empire. Hundreds of ships, armed with the deadliest weapons, trained for centuries to fight any enemy. They had crushed rebellions, wiped out species, and silenced all who resisted. Now they were sent to hunt shadows. The order spread. Across the Empire, ships gathered, fuel was stockpiled, soldiers armed. The greatest armada in history prepared to leave the capital, but in the dark, the silent ships waited. They had not attacked the people. They had not burned colonies. They only hunted fleets, as if the humans wanted the Empire's sword broken before the real war began. And somewhere, deep beyond the charts of the Empire, a new signal whispered through the void. Stronger than before, it was not two words this time, it was a sentence. You took our world, now we take yours. The message reached the capital. The council chamber fell silent because every counselor knew what it meant. The humans were not just returning. They were coming for Eartha. World the Empire had stolen long ago. The world they thought was gone forever. The First Fleet gathered like a storm around the capital. Hundreds of warships stretched across the void, shining with steel and firepower. No force in the galaxy had ever matched it. The council told the people this fleet would destroy the human ghosts once and for all. But the soldiers inside the ships were not so sure. They had heard the stories. They had seen the survivors who came back trembling, whispering about voices in their heads and visions of burning worlds. And deep down, many of them knew this was no normal enemy. Still, orders were orders. The fleet launched with thunder, engines shaking space itself as they moved toward the coordinates where the human signals burned strongest. At first, the journey was calm. Stars glittered. Systems passed without trouble. The commanders grew confident again. Maybe this really was just a myth, a trick, something the Empire could crush. But then, stars began to vanish. One by one, constellations disappeared. Behind a spreading black veil, silence deeper than any void fell across the fleet. Their scanners screamed warnings, but no one could explain what was happening. And then the ships appeared. Dozens, hundreds, silent. Dark vessels, each one larger than the destroyer swallowed at Targus. They slid out of the blackness like shadows. Given form, surrounding the First Fleet on every side, the Imperial commanders froze. This was not one ship. This was an armada. The order was given. Fire everything. Hundreds of warships unleashed their fury. The void lit up with missiles, beams, and storms of firepower. Explosions brighter than suns flashed again and again. But when the light cleared, the human ships still floated, untouched. And then they answered, not with fire, but with sound. A deep vibration shook through every Imperial ship, not through space, but through their minds. A single chant echoed in every skull. Earth, Earth, Earth. The soldiers clutched their heads. Some screamed, some fell to the ground. A few tore out their own combs, desperate to escape the sound. But it was not sound, it was thought, forced into them. Admiral Keller, commander of the First Fleet, tried to stay calm, he shouted. Orders demanded courage. But even he could not silence the chant inside his mind. Then one of the Imperial ships turned not against the humans, but against its own fleet. Its weapons fired into its allies, tearing holes. through friendly cruisers. The crew inside had gone mad, consumed by the voice. More ships followed. Chaos erupted. The Empire's greatest fleet tore itself apart as the humans watched in silence. Finally, human ships moved. They did not fire missiles. They did not burn planets. Instead, beams of pure white light stretched from their hulls, touching Imperial ships one by one, and each ship touched, vanished. Not destroyed, vanished, erased as if it had never been. Within hours, the first fleet was gone. Admiral Keller's flagship remained alone, powerless, floating in the void. On his screen, one of the human ships appeared closer than before. Surface rippled, and for the first time, his face appeared. It was human, eyes hard as stone, voice deep as the void itself. The figure spoke directly to the Admiral. "You thought you erased us? You thought history would forget, but we remember. And now you will remember too." The Admiral tried to speak, but his throat closed. He had no words left, so only fear. The human's eyes burned brighter. "Tell your council. Tell them Earth rises." Again, then the screen went black. The flagship was thrown back toward Imperial space by a force it could not resist. Carrying only one survivor and one message, the Empire's strongest fleet was gone, and the humans had declared their return. Survivor of the first fleet returned broken. Its flagship drifted into the capital's orbit, its hull scarred, its crew silent. Only Admiral Keller still lived. Even he seemed half dead. When the council dragged him into the chamber, the people expected answers. But Keller gave only trembling words. "They are back. They're human, and they cannot be stopped." Council demanded details. He spoke of ships that swallowed light, of voices that bent the mind, of entire fleets erased without fire. When he finished, silence filled the chamber. Even the proudest counselors could not deny it now. The humans were real, and they were stronger than ever. The council tried to hide the truth from the people, but rumors spread faster than commands. Colonies spoke openly of the first fleets, death. Merchants whispered about human faces seen in the stars. On the streets of the capital itself, crowds gathered, chanting words that once would have meant execution. "Earth rises. Earth rises." The Empire had never known rebellion like this, not from weapons, but from belief. The people had seen, their rulers afraid, and once fear spreads, it cannot be taken back. Then came a new terror. One morning, every screen in the capital lit up on its own. Every comm channel opened. Every ship's console froze. A face appeared. Human. It was the same face Admiral Keller had seen, the one who spoke from the shadow ship. His eyes burned cold. His voice rolled like thunder. "Empire of thieves. Empire of liars. You built your throne on stolen graves. You took our home. Now we take it back." The message echoed through the stars, not just in the capital, but across the entire empire. No one could shut it off. For 7 long minutes, every soul in the Empire stared into human eyes. Then the screen went dark. Panic erupted. Some cried. Some cheered. Soldiers deserted in waves, some swearing loyalty to the humans they had never met. Others hid, refusing to fight. The council split. Half demanded surrender, half demanded war. But none could agree on what humans wanted most. That answer came soon enough. Scouts reported movement in the forgotten sectors near the Galactic rim. There, long ago, the Empire had erased a planet, K-planet called Earth. They had burned its surface, left it as ash, and claimed victory. But now, sensors showed life. Green spread across the once dead surface. Oceans glimmered. Cities rose where rubble once lay. Ow! And above the planet hung the silent human fleet, guarding it like a crown. The humans had taken Earth back. The council watched in horror. Their leaders shouted orders, but their voices shook with fear. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was no longer the master of the galaxy. The humans had returned to their world, and from that world they would rise again. The council. Leader whispered to himself, but the whole chamber heard it. This is not war. This is judgment. The Empire had never faced fear like this. Its fleets were broken, its people restless, its leaders divided. And now, Earth itself, once thought dead and silent, lived again. The council gathered in secret. Guards were posted at every entrance. No recordings were allowed. The rulers of the greatest empire in the galaxy sat in silence, staring at each other until one finally spoke, "We cannot win." The words hung in the air like poison. Another shouted, "We are the Empire. We will not kneel." About everyone in the chamber felt the truth. They had seen fleets vanish. They had heard the human's voice echo across every star. This was not an enemy they could fight with weapons. And yet, pride would not let them surrender. So they planned something desperate, something cruel. If humans had rebuilt Earth, then Earth would be destroyed again. Not by fleets, not by soldiers, by fire. The Council approved the use of the Sun Spear, a weapon hidden for centuries, a weapon built to end entire worlds. It had only been used once before in a war no one dared to remember. The Sun Spear could reach across light years, ignite a star, burn a system into dust. Their plan was simple. Target the star of Earth, burn it, end the humans forever. The weapon was activated in secret, deep beneath the capital. Ancient machines roared back to life, power flooding through forgotten channels. The Sun Spear aimed at Sol, the home system of Earth. The Council smiled in cold victory. Let humans watch their world burn again. But at the very moment the weapon fired, something happened. The beam never reached Sol. Instead, it curved, bent, vanished into the void as if swallowed, and then across the skies of the Ep, capital dark ships appeared. Dozens, hundreds. Had known? The Council panicked. Armies were sent. Defenses rose. But the human ships did not fire. They hovered above the capital, silent, casting shadows across the planet. Then every voice on the planet heard the same message, whispered inside their minds. "You try to burn our world again. Now we burn your throne." The ground shook. Across the capital towers collapsed. The sky split with storms. Weapons melted. People screamed. The Empire's greatest city, the jewel of their rule, was breaking apart without a single shot fired. The council chamber itself cracked. Leaders tried to flee, but the walls closed in, stone crushing stone. The screams of rulers echoed as the floor swallowed them whole. Above, the people of the capital stood frozen, watching human ships drift like silent judges. Not one blast struck the civilians. Not one shot touched the innocent. Only the Empire's palace and armies fell. It was not war, it was execution, and the message was clear. The humans had returned not for conquest, not for gold, not for slaves. They had returned for justice. The Empire's capital burned. Towers that had stood for 1,000 years fell in dust. Palaces where rulers once declared themselves gods lay broken. The council was gone, swallowed by their own walls. And above it all, the human ships hung like shadows, silent and unmoving. The people trembled, waiting for death. Expected. Fire to rain from the sky, planets to be burned, stars to be shattered. But none of that came. The humans did not strike the innocent. They did not destroy cities beyond the palace. They did not claim the capital for themselves. Instead, a voice filled the skies once more, calm, steady, cold. Your empire is ended. Your throne is broken. You are free. The people stared upward in disbelief. Free. None had spoken that word in centuries. The empire was all they had ever known. Now, in a single moment, it was gone. On a ruined balcony, Admiral Keller, the only man to survive the First Fleet, watched in silence. His eyes burned with shame, but also with something new, understanding. The humans had not come for conquest. They had come to tear down the chains the Empire had built. Across the galaxy, reports flooded in. Imperial fleets surrendered without firing a shot. Governors abandoned their posts. Colonies declared independence, no longer fearing the wrath of the throne. Everywhere the silent ships appeared, They did not conquer. They only watched, ensuring no new tyrant rose again. Whispers spread through the stars. Humans were not destroyers, but judges. They had returned from death itself to bring balance. On Earth, the once burned world now alive again, humans stood among their rebuilt cities. Their voices carried through the void, a message broadcast to every star. We are human. You erased us. You buried us. But we endured. We rise again. And let this be known, no empire, no tyrant, no throne shall stand upon the bones of the forgotten ever again. The message echoed across galaxies. Some cheered, some wept, some trembled, but all understood one truth. Humans were not just back. They were eternal, and the most feared signal in all of space was no longer warships or armies. It was silence. Silence before humans spoke. The silence before judgment. The silence that now haunted the stars forever. The empire was finished. The age of humans had begun again.